preparing. Zoom has basically we created a third-party extension where they have an API going from Zoom to YouTube. So we got everybody here. That looks fantastic. And then make sure that everybody's camera's up and running. And Lily, my lead TA, will be answering any of your questions on the side there and making sure that everybody's up and running. Okay, good evening, everybody. We have a full evening today. I want to make sure that everybody's is right with their project. You've all been approved by myself. Is that correct, Lily, on their projects? Is that true? Their topic? Is that a
I
true
believe so.
statement?
Some groups have not gotten back to me on updates on their proposals.
Okay, can you be so kind and
I'll reach out to them.
reach out to them because we really need to do this. Today is March 25th. We have can you imagine? April 22nd, we have our exam, and on the following Monday is the last day of class. So it's really less a month. And one of them is going to be set for review, and the other one is going to be, so we really only have 3 weeks to get our projects up and running. So I don't want to be at a time on Monday where I have groups that haven't finished their project of their first draft. So let me share my screen in a minute to tell you. So what I want to make sure tonight is, number one, that each group, before we leave tonight, each group will have what I call the owner, meaning the owner of the website. That is the person that will register in their name, that will remove the promotion code and put in that is for 50%. We want 100%. I'm always looking for you not to pay anything. So it has to be 0. So you'll be doing that. Also, each group, I'm going to call them the owner. The owner needs to invite each of the members in your group to be web managers. So that has to be done tonight. And in your groups, what I call the owner, next to your name in each group, there should be one person. And after your name, your email, and phone, right after that, in all caps, I want you to write owner. So we know who is the person in charge of signing up for the website. And I will go over the materials. Okay? So this needs to be done. No one is leaving. You're all going to be, Lily, remember to lock the door. Nobody's going to leave until all of this is out, right? I think you can restrict people from coming into Zoom. Can you restrict people that they can't get out? I don't think so, right? But I'll do that one time, right? It's almost like lock the door, nobody lock the windows, and nobody can get out until you say uncle. Okay. So any comments, questions to proceed? Kiko, you have any, as your group set this up? Who in your group is the owner?
I'm with Ludovica, so we're still figuring that out, but we should
Okay.
be good
We're
soon.
still, well, I'm trying to send the invitations, but for some reason, I think it's the library Wi-Fi. It won't let me send it. I'll do it later because.
Okay. Maybe it won't let you do it, or you can't find it.
No. I found it. It just won't
Okay.
let me send it
Okay.
for
All
some
right.
reason.
So we need to do that. Okay. So let me share my screen, and then any comments, feel free to put it in the chat. And if you have it, you can also at appropriate time, unmic yourself and we can proceed. Okay, so. So let me try here. So Athena, do you see my screen? We don't hear
Yes.
you, this is being
Sorry, I was
recorded.
muted.
What?
Yes, I see your screen. Sorry, I was
Okay.
muted.
All right, so just have to remember, okay, Athena. All right, so let's go to our section, which is K. And in K, then we have what's due, Athena, and in what's due, let me make sure this is right. My edit mode is off, so I see the same things that you do on all your roles, and make sure on Monday, March 23rd, before the class, we needed to have our topics at the end of the class. We tried to sign off. There were some issues, and we spot each other, and Lily is so kindly going to reach out to groups that are still having some issues on that. Because on Monday, you're going to need to present your first draft to me. We also talked about cloud computing. We talked about that you needed to do the readings. What is it? The additional readings, two of the more popular vendors were Amazon Web Services and Azure that we did, which is nice. And the other part is for Monday. What needs to be done is part 2 of our final project. Notice each week we're going to have another assignment. So finally on the 27th, I will be able to evaluate it, and in a short period of time, I will just ask you to do minor corrections, hopefully. Artificial intelligence is a big portion, since you're all going to be AI consultants. We're going to be going every week into more and more AI. The readings you have in the book, and also the quizzes. And I need to give you additional readings because everything is changing so quickly, but I also want you to have a deeper understanding, where I go into what is artificial intelligence, the challenges, the subfields. We have something called machine learning, as well as data mining and deep learning and generative AI. And what I'm going to talk a little bit about today is also agentic AI and AI agents. Next week, we'll do a assignment where we'll talk about voice AI agents, or what sometimes I call intelligent AI callers. And we'll do that as well. So you'll get not only theory, but what I like is, what can you do for me today, is actual hands-on experience, which is incredible. So we have these two. This is another one. Let me see if I put this here. Under web links, Lily, can you be so kind, in section HI under web links, there's a New York Times article that I put near the top. If you can find it, about using AI agents for fun, something like that. What was that? I think it was New York Times.
Yeah, AI agents, they're fun, they're useful.
Yeah, if
Don't
you can
give
be
them
so
a
kind,
preference.
and you can put it in the top here.
Mhm.
I'll go over it a little bit. Be so kind, thanks. I think I put it in, is check to see also if I put it in J, but I think I put it in K. So, and we'll talk about the idea of agentic AI versus generative AI. IBM does some good things also, in terms that'll probably be for the following week, you can put these in for readings of agentic AI versus generative AI. They do some nice work from IBM of saying what's the key difference between agentic AI and generative AI. And if I even think about it, ChatGPT is what? Ludovica, what is ChatGPT? It's generative AI, right? Do you have any idea what a AI agent is, Ludovica?
Well, no, I do not know the definition. Like I
Okay.
know
So let's think about it. If you use ChatGPT, right, which everybody's used in the class, right? We can assume, right, Ludovica?
I feel like
Right.
when we talk about generative AI, it could mean that like to an input of ours, it creates an output that generates an output. You know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right, and can even do new content, right?
Yeah.
That the generative AI, I prompt it and it can come up with new, I can prompt it to give me a story, I can prompt it to give me advice, I can prompt it, and I can do conversational generative AI that I speak, or I could text and then it can speak back to me, or it can text prompting and I get it. An AI agent, Ludwika, is I give it a task to do. So the difference is it goes out and does something that I want. I can give it I can give it a simple task, I can give it a complicated task. And agentic AI is like the framework, and I can have an agent AI that does tasks. So I can say, these are the readings I have, these are all my newsletters. I have 20 newsletters go out, and every morning, Ludovica, give me a summary of all of these, and do it every morning, or go through and do something with my emails and send it out, summarize, and you can do a lot of those. One of the advantages is you can have one agent send out and give it to 5 different agents. So the advantages are immense, and it can really do work. I think where we need humans is in the idea of what are we going to automate, and still it's in its infancy, all of this. So we need humans to evaluate it. Even with generative AI, I've gotten, even from this class and other classes, emails, right? That it's obvious that ChatGPT wrote the emails, and I have no problem with that, because at least it's succinct and it's spelled correctly and grammar is good. But sometimes it says dear, and then it has in brackets name. Right, Lily? Have you ever seen that? Where they want you then to fill in. So it's a little bit, I find it humorous, but then it doesn't look as good on the sender. Right, I didn't even comment that they didn't have the ability to detail and read what the AI did. So
Professor,
a lot
it
of times,
actually
what?
happened in Europe recently that I don't remember a politician. No, I remember the country. It could have been
Yeah.
Italy, Spain, I don't remember. Was
Yeah.
reading a speech and then read like insert
Name.
your name. Yes.
Right. And he was even in the way he didn't even rehearse it. So at the last minute, it says insert your name. Right. So but it'll get better later on. You know what I mean? That's not the thing, but the idea is later on it can have benefits as well. So those are issues. But what I want to talk about, which is important with the AI, is traditionally the AI has been what? Cloud-based or on-premise? What do you think? Felix, what do you think? AI, if I had to ask you a part of an open-ended question, is AI in general through the cloud or locally? What would you say?
It's mainly through the cloud, no?
Right. No. And why?
Because they have like huge servers to do all that
Yes,
processing.
right. Because in terms of those large language models that needs huge amounts of computing, my individual personal computer and yours don't have enough what? RAM and capacity to do the processing. So that's called basic through the cloud computer. But what does locally mean, Felix? You're on a roll. What does locally mean?
Means that my own device processes it
Right, your
So,
own device process. What's the advantage of that, Felix?
um, I wouldn't need access to the internet, I don't think.
Yeah, right. Locally means I don't need access to the internet. So what's the advantage of that? So who cares?
It's more secure.
More secure. Why? You're on a roll. I'm pushing you, right?
Because no one else can access it unless they have access to my
Right,
computer.
right. Do I have access to your computer? You
No.
give me you can give me right, just like we learned in Zoom, right? You can give somebody access remote, but they have to approve it, right? And what do I have to do to get access to a computer? How do I get access to the computer? It's usually through the internet, right? Now there's other ones. You remember we talked about VPNs and things like that, virtual private networks that we can connect to that are more secure. But anytime I open myself up, right, I get advantages to that, but there's also disadvantage. I'm more vulnerable. Remember we talked about risks? There's more risk to that. But what? I want to manage the risk because I can do more with it opening. So I want you to think about that. And one of the things, Lily, that we haven't mentioned before, did you get that article? Did you put it in?
Yeah, it's in web links.
Okay, great. Thank you so much. I really appreciate your help in it. This is the one I put in. This is really great that I love for you guys to read for next week is AI agents. And look at that. AI agents, right? So Ludovica, the agent's going to do something for me rather than they're fun. Isn't that great? They're useful, but don't give them the credit card, right? It's the idea. So what these are now, let me just go into it. Let's see, open in a new tab. This is one where you really see all this on the side. This is what? This is code. And the reason they put all that code is guess what? It's almost like that vibe coding that it can do a number of software for me that it can write. Right? And it's similar to those ideas, but you're telling it. So this is an article where they basically see these I was going to say young kids, maybe they're 28 or something. So they're, in your terms, they're not young. In my terms, they are. But basically, they're running companies that they ask these agents to do work for. And I'd like you to read through this, which is they're getting the agents to do a number of works. And then they also show this idea that if I don't supervise it well, and since it's in the very beginning, it can cause this problem. So this guy wanted, I think, to speak at Davos and got a idea that he got an invitation to speak at Davos, which is kind of like a big deal. But then he ended up having to pay these bills. So these agents then are creating these codes for you and doing this. But this is interesting that this guy, Matt Schilt, and look how quick this is. And this is, Lily, why it's every semester is so exciting. In late January, we're in March, and in late January, he built a social network. Think about it, something like Facebook. That must have taken a year, at least 2 years to build. And he built it in such a short time where instead of having people talk to each other, like, where they started off in universities that you get to know each other, AI agents talk to each other. Can you imagine? It's like mind-blowing, Ludwika. Can you think about it? That you create a network that people aren't talking, but AI agents chat with each other. And then you have thousands of bots working together. And what's funny is the owner of Facebook acquired this new social network. Facebook was one of the first social networks that succeeded, right, by its founder when he was in Harvard. And then he thought, hey, in the beginning, you only could be in Facebook, if you had a .edu account, right, in order to get, and he said, well, this way I could get to know other people in my classes. But there's now a new software called OpenClaw. Have you ever heard of it, Lily?
No.
OpenClaw, this is interesting, is open source. And what do we care about open source? Open source means that it's usually how much? It's free and programmers could edit it. But what it does is it creates agents for you locally. And what does that mean, Felix? OpenClaw, these were meaning anyone could download the underlying and modify it. And many people bought low-cost Mac Minis. Everybody know what a Mac Mini is? They're now installing these agents without worrying about deleting or damaging important software, data and software. So what does it mean locally, Felix? You're my local guy.
It means that it was creating agents that only your computer could use.
Yes, it's not using the internet. And this, in a short period of time, has been adopted faster than anything. And it's so immense that it's almost like an entire operating system. And there's such excitement around this. Those that are more advanced in this class or more curious in this class, is you can look at it. OpenClaw, it's not for the faint of hearted. There'll probably be other companies, I'm sure, buying them. Everybody heard of NVIDIA, right? A $1 trillion company, the head of NVIDIA, they just had in March, they had their full tech version. And now he is so excited about this OpenClaw that he has now devoted vast amounts of money to standardize on this OpenClaw. And what's the idea? You can create agents, but your agent you can create locally on your computer. And what's the problem with your agents is they can go off and do things that could be dangerous. You remember, Ludovica, that you were saying that Mauricio is up at night, right? He'd go crazy to something like that because every person at the university using their systems could create these agents that, one, you could do it nefariously, but two, you could even do it and you don't even know. You're naive. You don't even know what these agents could possibly do. But it runs locally. And that's what people like about it, is I can try these out and almost it can be my personal assistant. And this is called OpenClaw. And what Jensen, who is the CEO of NVIDIA, said is he wants to make it for the enterprise. So he wants to make it for the enterprise. And what does he say for the enterprise? Which they would freak out as crazy, right? In the financial industry, right, Lily, would be what? What, you're going to take my client's data, my data, and make these agents do crazy stuff? He says, no, we're going to make it secure. Whether he is or not, that's a different story. But he is so excited. He says, this is the HTML, this is the Linux, this is whatever, this is the best thing since, sliced bread. So you can see that several silicon companies like tech giants like Google, we all know, Meta, which is, the Facebook, and startup Anthropic, Perplexity, Shortwave, are building similar technologies they hope to refine for use inside businesses. And guess what? OpenAI, we all know about OpenAI, recently hired the software developer who created OpenClaw. They grabbed him quick. Because guess what? I can do the prompts with ChatGPT, but now everybody wants to do the agents, and you can do agents upon agents that do it. And then they say, of course, New York, and then research, and most would struggle with them. Right now, it's struggling. This is more hype to these things than usefulness. This is what they say. But I don't know about the hype. I think it really is that trend, almost like the pendulum. Some things I want to do locally. Some things are really great face to face. Some things I want to do. So open claw bots then can do damage, but if you would just want to play with it, and people are saying, I don't even want it on my regular computer. Let me buy a little cheap Mac Mini, play around with it, and I don't even have my credit card information and other things that it can do damage, and see what it's like. So this is say right, and then you have to kind of now make sure it does it right. This is one that recently organized her email, started deleting messages by the thousands. They'd like to talk about the things that isn't, and now they have something called Claude Co-work from Anthropic that's doing research in areas like what? Finance, healthcare, the law, but the technology called a research preview is still unpredictable. But just think, Lily, how fast this is going. That by next semester, we got the whole summer, right? How this is going to be improved, and how it almost is. I see the advantage of people now are that you're on top of it and know what to automate, what not to, and where to be conservative, and say, wait a minute, let's not go crazy about it, but know what it can do, and you can see the potential. So if it's crazy now, for this part, I would say in the normal tech world, in the old days, like 5 years ago, right? I would say, oh, it's going to take a couple of years. In this, I said, let's see what's going to be in 6 months, because this started in January. It had the most downloads. And already, look at this. These are not dummies here that OpenAI said, hey, we're hiring you. And I'm telling you, they're hiring him not for 60,000, but probably for a number of millions of dollars, right? And one of the things that they give them, Lily, as bonuses is how many tokens I can start using in my company. Because if I start using a lot of this, it becomes expensive, right? So these are kind of issues that you want to think about. I'm even telling Lily about it. Is Claude Co-work, from Anthropic? Right now it's more reliable than OpenCloud. I'm sure there's going to be a competitor. I'm sure Microsoft will get into and others, and then there'll be something OpenCloud that will be easier to use for the non-professional, And here's orthopedic trauma surgeon. Can you imagine? Runs a healthcare technology startup using Cloud Co-work to generate research reports, spreadsheets, summarize emails, and draft responses. Because this is what I meant. If we're in wealth management, I don't want my wealth managers to spend a lot of time, right, of doing their research reports, but I want them to be up and running, right, and summarizing emails, drafting responses. I use it to automate a lot of my life. It functions almost like my chief of staff, but it takes time to know it, and later on it'll be that, but it's careful to check everything the bots do. He does not let them send emails unless he has approved them first. Later on, I can have a process with it. It's almost like, right, Lily, we work together and we almost have to check each other's work. Right? Isn't it? How many times do I say, oh, I forgot this, I forgot, and we almost have to say, we have to check each other's work. In this case, it's my assistant. I can't just let it go to be comfortable and to do it. And especially its amount of time, what am I talking about? If I put in my Mac Mini, as I always say, my PowerPoints, let it go at it, let it create new PowerPoints. But when I start talking about paying my bills or, still they want me to set up order things, I still want to be able to look at it again. Many researchers argued that AI has steadily improved over the last years and it will continue to rapidly improve. Things are constantly changing with AI. People may form an opinion in June and it's correct in June, but by August it may not be correct at all. That's what's amazing. 2 to 3 months. So I can't wait, Lily, when you come back, what's going to be, of how it is. So here, AI isn't coming for every white collar job, at least not yet. My idea is this is what we'll be doing, is those new jobs of creating it. And some of this, of course, when they're firing is sometimes excuses, when they're laying down, blame it on AI. They overlook worked. And, you know, it's like a pendulum. We lay off too much. We need people again. But this is where you have the unique abilities. That's why I want to emphasize it. So thank you, Lily, for putting that up. And you can just now Google it or put it, you know, in ChatGPT, tell me about OpenClaw and how I can use it. And what will they say? If I do that, right? Right. Right. That when it's thinking about it, right? That open source. So in this case, Kiko, what's open source mean?
It means the source code is available to the public and anyone
Right.
can modify
And
it.
usually it's free, right?
Yeah.
Autonomous, it runs on its own. I give it and then, hey, it goes off on its own, which is great many times. Otherwise, you know, like a little toddler can't run on its own. AI running that runs what, Felix? Locally.
Locally.
On your machine or virtual private network, designed to automate, in this case, complex, repetitive tasks by interacting directly with files, browsers, and apps like Gmail, Slack, Discord. It acts as a 24/7 personal assistant, utilizing API codes from models like OpenAI, Anthropic to perform actions rather than just generating text. That's the key, Athena, to an agent. It will perform actions just like your assistant. Go do these, right? And then basically when you see it, it's still not as easy because installed via terminal using a single command. So that's like in programming a long time, it's like a single command. It's not graphical user interface yet. And guess what? I guarantee you, Lily, they'll have a graphical user interface probably by when we come back for the fall. But right now you have to do like command prompt, configure, connect an AI model, very similar to what, Lily? Like VAPI. Tell it what API it should use, right? Because it's an agent, right? The API keys, and set up your identity, run the agent, allowing it to manage files and applications. Implementing skills, use the skills to enable specific automations, such as summarizing emails, checking GitHub repositories, every morning bring me this list of about my clients, bring me, these are my what are the trends, what am I doing, and then connect messaging apps like Telegram, Discord, or WhatsApp to receive updates, control the agent. So I don't even need to be on my computer, Lily. You can be in your WhatsApp and give it from your WhatsApp just like you're chatting to me. That'll be an agent. You're telling it now, do this, right? And when I give you, Lily, I want you to do this, you'll just say, oh, sure, Dr. Rush. And then you'll be texting the agent to do it. You do it, right? Because you're gonna be the senior lead, right? So one of your TAs will be the agent. And then here again, my Felix, local control. Since it's self-hosted, your data stays under your control. Autonomous security. And this is where Mauricio comes in, right? Because it has deep system access to your files and apps. Caution, right? Should be exercised regarding its installation. Right? And then you can go, what is it, and how can I use it, right? And here it's formerly called bot, right? And then it was Maltbot, a viral open source, and viral, meaning that it went crazy. And now you know it's crazy when NVIDIA says hey, we got all these countries, they had like 15 countries that he's having centers with around the world. He shows a map, and basically they use powerful AI models behind. So I wanted to share it with you, that this I couldn't share last semester. You see that, Lily? But you see where it's going, and you see the difference even of all in the financial community, where they need to keep guardrails, but where it could be really useful is being, I don't need the and that's why they're saying in some of those jobs, which were clerical, I don't need those jobs. But when they were saying I don't need those interns, but where I need those interns is I need those interns to figure out, help me decide what's going to be useful. That's where I want and they're comfortable with it. So if I can even of the more senior people in these firms, I need you guys to be able to say, okay, where are you going to take it to? What's going to be that, and how to use it? This still is, look at this, a virtual private server from products like hosting and digital for always on experience. So I'm going to be like a server on the internet, but it's virtual, where it's going to reside on my mini Mac locally for me, different than in Amazon. Who knows what's going to be there? So if I look at previously, which one? You remember Athena cloud computing? You remember that, Athena, that we talked about? Amazon Web Services and all. When I talk about those cloud services, cloud, Athena, think about it. It's probably since you've been born, right? Or through the thing, cloud, all the applications you work on are usually from the cloud. Tell me one application you use that's a cloud application, Athena.
Like storing photos on like Google Drive instead of my
Exactly.
computer.
You're right. That's cloud, right? In this class, right? As we start off, right? When you get into my class, how do you get into my class? Through Blackboard. It's Blackboard cloud application. Of course it is. You need the internet. Then what do you have to do? You have to go into Zoom. Is Zoom a cloud application? Of course it is, right? And then when we continue, when you have Office, right, that can be a cloud service. It can also be stored locally, but now they're trying to send it to me in the cloud. So that whole difference is, when I talk about it, infrastructure, IT represents what, Athena? What does IT stand for? Talk about it all the time. You need some help, Athena. What is IT?
Sorry, my computer is being so weird. Information technology.
Right, information technology, right? I use that term all the time, IT, right? As if everyone was born with it. Of course they weren't. So IT has components. All those components that I talk about, right, Kai, is what? Hardware, software. We've talked about all of those. My networks. What are networks? The networks is anytime you are on campus, right? And you want to go to the get Wi-Fi, what do you have to do? You have to go through the university network. Have you ever seen that, Kai? And when you have to go through the university network, they even have a little disclaimer there that you agreed to go on to their network. And do you think they can follow you on? Do you think they follow you on the network when you go on campus? What do you think, Kai?
Yeah, probably.
You think they know what you're doing?
To an extent. I mean, I hope they don't know like everything you're doing, but to an extent, yeah.
Maybe. Well, they can.
Oh.
So I don't know if they know everything you're doing either. They don't tell me, but they can, and they will. And I know that for a fact, because some of my students a guy from, did I tell you that story? A guy from, might as well. A guy from Singapore. Did I tell you that? Well, did I ever say that? I had a student from Singapore. He was really smart. And you know how I like smart people, Lily. I have a tendency for that. What can I say? I fall for them. So anyway, he was quite smart. And so what I told him, he was in one of my classes, and I said, why don't you do a special study? And he was a computer science, but he was also business. And he was from Singapore. His English wasn't that great. And all of a sudden, I said, okay, now I'm giving you this complicated idea to do. I always liked, and even then I love to automate. So he was doing automation and things. And in the middle of his presentation, I swear to God, in front of the class, he's sitting there with his phone. He's giving a presentation. He's looking at his phone. And I couldn't help myself, right? I said, Chew, that was I guess his nickname. I said, Chew, what are you doing? I said, you're presenting and you're looking at your phone. I mean, give me a break. And he said, well, I was looking on how much money I just made. And I said, what? And he goes, well, I did a little Facebook app and I made just today like $1,500 or $2,000. And I said, what? And he goes, I make that. Then I left it, right? And he was graduating. And I had, you know how I always like to have guest speakers. I had a guest speaker who was an attorney and his specialty was security. So he gave the talk and so forth. And then he comes, it was like the last week of class, he comes to me and he says, I got a letter from Facebook, from the attorneys of Facebook, that I need to cease and desist. And he goes, what was interesting is they had my exact Chinese name, which he never uses, even the university didn't. I have this. And they said I need to cease and desist because I violated some Facebook rules, policies. And this was, he created this silly little app in Facebook. It was like by chance. And he got thousands of dollars a day from this silly little app. But he took advantage of some of the Facebook rules and he used the university, right? Who am I telling about the network that I'm asking? He used the university network. And they traced him to where he was living. They traced him. They contacted the attorneys of the university. And then he came to me and he says, I'm supposed to go on a plane next week. And then before that, when he was telling me about this, I said, does your mother know about what you're doing? I always ask that. And he goes, yes. And in the beginning, I told her that it violated a couple of things beforehand, but then she saw my bank account or something and she was quiet after that. So then I said, well, we have to contact, the only thing I can say is we'll contact our attorney that we know that's into, security, also is in immigration. And so we asked him to, if he can leave the country. And he went on and on about this. So when you ask me, you think they know about you. And what he did, he was computer science. So he hid his identity. He was like these proxies that he didn't even sign in with his actual accounts. And he was doing all these things to really hide himself from the university of the network. And he did leave the country, but that night he didn't sleep in his stated residence. But that's my point of letting you know that they were able, because he shared that network, they were able to go to the university and follow him through that. So on that security, what cloud computing is then able to do is it's able to give then all of this infrastructure as virtual through, instead of buying all this hardware, software, networks, databases, and IT services, what you will be doing is renting those services in cloud computing. And then when I get to AI, these cloud computing vendors will be providing me computing capabilities to do all the AI in terms of my large language models, in terms of doing my agentic types of AI, but I'm doing for the cloud. And then what I need to do is be more careful about my security. So that is the issue there. So let me share my screen. Let me go to my browser. Why can't I get out of this? And now, let's go. So what I have, if I look at it, what's important then is the benefits of cloud computing. We all use cloud software. Athena even told us, right? From getting up in the morning, checking my Instagram, going to TikTok, I'm doing, but here the cloud computing services vendors are for companies to do all their computing power in the cloud. So basically it can save in terms of costs, flexibility that I can scale up and scale down. So in the beginning of, if we go into business together, into consulting, and what's your project? What sector are you going to be doing, Athena?
Real estate, I think.
Real estate. So in the beginning, we start off with no customers. Then we go to 100. And I say, you know what, Athena, I don't want to start buying more hardware, hiring people to do some of these computing. Let's go to one of these vendors to do it. And then when, let's say we get 1,000 clients or 5,000 clients, we can scale up and we can be flexible. So that is the key. But my risk, right? Because nothing is 100%. I'm always going to have risks. So what do I need to do is I have to mitigate some of those risks. And I'm going to be, in this case, on security, have to deal with it. And depending on what I do, I have to decide. And then basically, especially when I'm using in terms of AI with all those agents, right? Those criminals can even be more efficient as well. So these are kind of the areas in which you can think about, right? That you have then basically all this as a service. See, all these as a service, meaning as a service that these cloud computing vendors give me. They give me my infrastructure, they give me my platform, meaning my software developers can use it. I can have it anywhere in the world. I can have several backups, all the software, right? The university, Zoom may be using Amazon to host the Zoom. They may be doing it on their own, but maybe Zoom says, we're into developing our software. We don't even want to bother hosting. Let Amazon do it, but let Amazon will have a site. Tell Amazon we want to have a site in Europe. We want to have a site in Asia. We want to have a site in the United States. And maybe the Pentagon says, I don't want to have a site in Asia. I want you only to have a site in Virginia. And maybe I want to have a backup in Texas, and then maybe one in Washington State. So this is the key in which you want to do it. So if I want to share again, and instead I want to go to my assignment groups, right, is I want to have the person that, what group are you in, Ludvika? Is group 2, is
Yeah,
that
number 2.
you're the
I
one
was
that
saying-
did put next to it
Yeah, I'll put owner.
owner. And everybody that, I want that done now. Everybody that signed up and then invited their other team members, put owner next to it. And did you find out how you assign it, Ludvika?
No, again, I already knew how to do it. It's just I think it's the Wi-Fi not allowing me.
Okay, okay. So I need to see that for each of those. Okay? And then once you have it done, then when you do your first draft, you don't need to get a domain name now. I would suggest you wait so you can get a really good domain name. So take the one that, make sure you publish your first draft. And the first draft, when you publish it, you'll get a URL with Wix in the domain name. You'll have like a secondary domain, and then copy that and put it instead of this one, which is the final domain name. You'll have it with the wix.com in your name, and then copy it to right here, and we'll look at it for Monday. Anything I need to add, Lily?
No, I think just like emphasize that they put the owner name next to it.
Right. And you can do that now. So you want to do
Attendance.
attendance, Lily, and then we'll stay after if anybody's having problems with
Yeah, this time I won't
signing up.
prematurely end it.
Pardon?
This time I won't prematurely end the attendance.
Oh, okay, it's all right. So it's 8471. And stay with us. If you have questions, comments, always like to hear from you. We'll see each other on Monday.
Bye, Professor. Bye, Lily.
Bye.
So read Scarlett and Isabella. Are you there?
Both Isabella and Scarlett are sick.
Okay. Do they need our help?
I'm not sure. They might be just, I think they're both suffering from the flu.
Okay, that's all. Isn't that great to have online? For them and for us. Okay, do we need, and Reed, what's up with Reed? Reed Collin. Did they just not, did they do attendance, Lily?
Mm,
Can you please be so kind to check?
looking. Um. No, Reed is not done attendance. Neither is Isabella.
You want to put them in or? Sometimes it's a Wi-Fi issue too, you know?
I'll put Isabella in.
Okay, and then Scarlett too,
Mm.
and then Reed, and then we can eliminate them.
Yeah, I got him.
Okay, perfect.
Can we just take them out now?
Yeah,
All right, they're out.
okay. Did I stop everything?